It's important to point out that it was a horrific tragedy. It was an industrial accident, and that's what it is. And we don't put people in jail for accidents. The bulldozer operator ran over the Porta-John, no doubt about it. He didn't see the Porta-John, had no information or knowledge or inkling or idea that anyone was in the Porta-John. It was just a horrible industrial accident. And that will have to be dealt with in the civil world. That's what civil litigation's for. There is no criminal conduct here that we see at this stage of the investigation.
Sheriff, have you guys found anything? We've had multiple people out at the landfill, family members tell us that these two guys had a beef with each other and that there's an ongoing dispute between each other. Have you guys found anything to indicate that there was some kind of vendetta against each other that may have caused more than just an accident?
Absolutely not. We've heard the social media chatter, read the social media chatter. Our detectives have investigated. At this point in the investigation, it's not complete. We're still waiting for some lab tests to come back. But we've interviewed everyone we know to interview. We've talked to everyone we know that had direct knowledge of the event. And no, that is nothing, there is no substantial information at all that would lead us to believe that's a problem. And even if it were a problem, we've got video showing the event. We've also got video showing that when Mr. Henderson was going into the Porta-John up on this level, our bulldozer operator was working, pushing over here, totally opposite of where the Porta-John, the person going into the Porta-John was. So at the end of the day, it's hard to accept this as a family, and I understand that, but it's not a criminal event. We see nothing at this point in time that leads us to believe it's a criminal event. So we're not in the business to arrest people who have not committed a crime, and we don't see an iota of information that would lead us to believe it's criminal at this point.
I know where you're getting, but I don't think you quite got there. You were talking about the Porta-Johns up here, the bulldozers down there. So what was the relevance of that? The
relevance is he was pushing a working away from where the bulldozer, he was on the bulldozer pushing and working away from where the Porta-John was and where Mr. Henderson walked into the Porta-John. So it's not even like he could see him from where he was pushing. I suppose that he could have turned around and looked up, but the video tells us he's pushing away and is working away from where the event occurred. It's also our understanding that the Porta-John had just been moved to that location within the last day or so. Keep in mind, this is a landfill. So they work in this area, then they work in this area, then they work in this area. So it is a moving industrial area. And at the end of the day, we've investigated it, and we're investigating to see if it's an accident or not. So we're not suggesting that when you get into policies, procedures, civil litigation, we don't know, that's not our ball game at all. Our job, our duty and responsibility is to determine, was it an accident or was it a criminal event? There's not one iota of information that leads us to believe it's a criminal event. None.
How did the man feel about the incident when you guys talked to him?
He was devastated. The bulldozer operator was totally devastated. And as we all are, no one likes to see any kind of death. But certainly when men are out working, earning a living, to have an industrial death is shocking, to say the least. So at the end of the day, when you see how shook up everyone is, when you see that there's no criminal intent, it doesn't mean that there won't be civil litigation go forward and them discuss or argue the merits of systems and processes, but that's not what we do as a law enforcement agency. We investigate to determine whether or not it was a criminal death, and nothing indicates that it was at this point in the investigation.
Sheriff, family members have said to us that after he ran over the Porta-Potty, instead of calling 911 immediately, he called his supervisor. Is there any type of negligence there, you say? Or
Oh, no, not at all. And I don't know whether he did or didn't. I don't have the report before me, but it makes no difference. I mean, if he got excited and he had an emergency there, he doesn't think, you can't get in his mind and say, well, why did you call your supervisor first as opposed to 911? And the reality of it is, it makes no difference which he called first. That horrible, horrible accident that created that event rendered him, immediately deceased.
That was Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd speaking earlier today about the incident that occurred earlier this month. Again, we're moments away from a press conference now. Now, you heard Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd. Let's bring Nico back in. You heard Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd say there that there was no criminal intent based on the work that the Polk County Sheriff's Office did and that there will not be criminal charges filed. He calls it a tragic accident. Now, Nico, we're going to be hearing from Black Lives Matter, or are we going to be hearing from the Ben Crump law firm? Who do we expect to hear from here in the next couple of minutes? Because they are saying, in the release that they put out, they're calling the incident highly suspicious, and they are seeking there to be some sort of criminal nature to what happened to Aaron Henderson.
So we're going to hear from Black Lives Matter here in Polk County, and I'm going to one more time flip my camera so they're all starting to come and gather here for that press conference. The three gentlemen you see here. So we'll hear from Black Lives Matter here in Polk County. We'll also hear from family members. Black Lives Matter, they just told us, like you just said, JB, they're pushing and they're hoping and they really want criminal charges. They're not saying that this was an intentional act by that bulldozer driver, John Johnson, but they use the word negligence. And so they still really desperately want criminal charges. So Black Lives Matter, I see some family walking, either family or Black Lives Matter walking down the road now, all wearing white T-shirts. So I know we're going to get started in a few moments, but Black Lives Matter and family, and they still want those criminal charges. Despite, we just heard Grady Judd saying nothing criminal behind what happened earlier this month here in Polk County. This is what the family's pushing for, JB.
Nico, I think that there's some confusion in the comment section because of Black Lives Matter. I think people, when they think of Black Lives Matter, they immediately associate they go back to the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd. Black Lives Matter, their involvement as far as Aaron Henderson's death, can you speak to how they are involved in this case? Because we are getting a lot of questions on Facebook Live specifically about that.
Not 100% sure how the family linked up and teamed up with Black Lives Matter. I know Stacy DeSilva covered this earlier this month, talked with some family members. And so today, this is the latest story. This is the first time we're probably going to see and hear from family members since that story Stacy did. But from what I understand, and I'm sure we'll learn more in a few moments, Black Lives Matter, they're here locally in Polk County. They're here to assist the family with what they want, which is those criminal charges. They're here to help those families and be a voice for this family here and help them in any way they can. But of course, like I said, we will find out a little bit more about their involvement with this family, with the Henderson family. We'll find out in a few minutes. And but to my knowledge, they're just here. They're here to be a voice for that family and help them with anything they're hoping for.
I'm going to read a statement here, Nico. It comes from Black Lives Matter. They released a statement in advance of this press conference. It says that Mr. Henderson's mother, Miss Mabel Harvey, is gravely ill and was recently admitted to hospice care. Every day that passes and the individual responsible for her son's death isn't held accountable and formally charged with negligent homicide brings more grief to Mrs. Harvey and the entire Henderson family. Do we know, Nico, at this time, and I know that you flipped your iPhone around to kind of show us the press conference as it gets underway here, but do you know if we're going to be hearing from any? I see the family members are now beginning to walk out. In fact, let's show folks this shot family members who are now going to be heading over to the podium to be speaking in front of the Polk County Courthouse. Nico, do we know if there's going to be any family members speaking at this press conference?
I understand there will be some family speaking, JB, and I'm not sure if you can see. I'm trying to zoom in on my iPhone here, but it looks like there's some family members just pulling up or just walking up now, all wearing white shirts, and I can't read what's on their shirts, but we should hear from a few of them this afternoon in addition to Black Lives Matter.
Again, for those of you just joining us in the last several minutes, JB Buno, Nico Clemens here with you. I just want to kind of rehash everything that we know about this story that we can in as brief of a way as possible before this press conference begins. On March 4th, 2022, again, just a few weeks ago, 40-year-old Aaron Henderson of Winter Haven, he was in a porta-potty on a work site in Polk County when he was crushed by a bulldozer while inside that porta-potty. Now, the sheriff's office said that a bulldozer operator was moving his rig to park it at the end of the workday when he turned and he heard a crumbling sound as he rolled over Henderson's porta-potty in what, again, the Polk County Sheriff's Office is calling just a tragic accident and also a work site accident. Now, Grady Judd is, you heard him there, he would not be surprised if there is a lawsuit filed, a civil lawsuit filed, but he does not believe that there was criminal intent and he does not believe that criminal charges should be filed. We're about to hear the other side of this from Black Lives Matter and the family of Aaron Henderson as they walk up here to the podium. Nico, any final thoughts here before we let you go?
You know, JB, this is, as you just saw, the family getting ready to walk up, family, Black Lives Matter getting ready to walk up. And, you know, it's been a long few weeks for this family. Of course, they're still pushing and demanding some sort of justice and criminal charges. We know the name of the bulldozer driver. We've heard all afternoon from Grady Judd. This is not criminal, but the family, they use that word negligence, and this is what they're hoping to get across today. I'm going to flip the screen so you can see the family walking up right now.
All right, Nico is going to be working on this for our newscast tonight on WFLA News Channel 8. Everybody be on the lookout for his reports on your NBC Station 8 on your side right here in Tampa Bay, Florida. Nico, we'll let you get to it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, JB.
All righty. Back here with you live, everybody. Let's now go live full screen. And again, right to the right of the camera is the family as they gather. And we're listening here live on WFLA now. Again, it's Black Lives Matter. Also, the Ben Crump Law Firm also being retained here on behalf of the family of Aaron Henderson, killed in Polk County earlier this month, March 4th, 2022. Let's listen in.
Alrighty. My name is Pastor Carl Soto. I am the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Restoration Polk, Inc. With me is Apostle Clayton Coward. He is the founder and president of the Poor Minority Justice Association, also known as PMJA, and Mr. Jarvis Washington, who is the president and founder of Black Lives Matter Restoration Polk, Inc. Today we're here to speak about Mr. Aaron Henderson. As you can see behind me, his family is here. Aaron was a brother, a son, a father, a cousin, a brother, and loved by many. And on March 4th of this year, Mr. Henderson went to work at the Central Florida landfill, North Central landfill, and went to work as he does every day for the previous several weeks. And on March 4th, at the conclusion of his workday, he went to a designated porta-potty to use the bathroom. And what we do know is at some point after Mr. Henderson entered that porta-potty, a bulldozer ran him over, killing him while he was inside of that porta-potty. Now, this situation, this tragedy has left his family, his mother, his sister, his children, his siblings, his friends and loved ones, heartbroken and looking for answers. And Black Lives Matter Restoration Polk Inc. and PMJA are teaming up to assist this family. What we don't understand is why and how this actually happened. Individuals that operate bulldozers must complete several hours of training of OSHA. OSHA provides a host of different safety protocols, guidelines, and provisions that every heavy machinery operator must follow when operating a bulldozer. Now, pursuant to the Polk County Sheriff's Office statements that was released on March 4th, they explicitly stipulated that the bulldozer operator stated to them that he could not see because a portion of the bulldozer bar, obstructed his view, prohibiting him from seeing what was in front of him. And he did not realize that he ran over a porta-potty until after he heard a crushing sound, got out of his bulldozer, looked behind and looked down and realized that there was a crushed porta-potty behind him with blood coming out. And then he realized there was someone inside. What we do know is that is inexcusable and negligent. OSHA has strict guidelines that prohibit heavy machinery operators from moving forward or operating a machine without being able to properly see in front of them and on the sides of them. There should have been no reason why this bulldozer operator decided to operate this bulldozer without a spotter, alone, still on the job site with no regards for himself or anyone else around him. Now, unfortunately, oversight does not excuse negligence. And we are confident that with the information that we do have, that this was pure negligence of the bulldozer operator. The bulldozer operator had an obligation to adhere to OSHA guidelines when operating that heavy machinery, and he chose to deviate from those guidelines. His choice killed a man who was a father, a man who was a brother, a man who was a son, and a man who obligated his life to stand up for his obligations as a father and as a sibling to take care of his family. And now his family is behind me grieving, and they still have yet to receive the answers as to why this happened, because this situation is inexcusable. Now, what we do know is, under the Florida statute 782.07, this criteria meets for the bulldozer operator to be formally charged with negligent homicide. We do understand that there's a huge possibility that this could have very well been an accident. However, there were multiple steps and protocols that should have been taken that would have prevented and avoided this tragedy. Mr. Henderson should not be in the ground right now. His family should not be grieving right now. And right now, Black Lives Matter Restoration Polk Inc. is now formally demanding that the state attorney of the 10th Judicial Circuit, Mr. Brian Haas, formally charge the bulldozer operator with negligent homicide. In Palm Beach County, there was a 43-year-old woman that recently was charged with negligent homicide for her role that played into the death of a 79-year-old woman. Now, even though there is some differences, there's multiple consistencies between both cases. The consistency is both individuals may not have intended to hurt anyone, but they deviated from their protocols and guidelines and decided to operate under their own and made a horrible choice that killed someone, and it could have been prevented. So we are calling on the state attorney, Brian Haas, to do his job and charge this bulldozer operator. We are appalled that the Polk County Sheriff and the Polk County Sheriff's Office would come out with a statement on the day that it happened, excusing the behavior of the bulldozer operator and calling it an excusable incident that was just an accident and oversight, without conducting a thorough investigation into this matter. Because of the Polk County Sheriff's Office statements, we are concerned with the integrity of the Polk County Sheriff's Office and their ability to be impartial when conducting an investigation of this magnitude. The law is the law, it's crystal clear. which is why the young lady from Palm Beach was charged for her role and charged with negligent homicide, because even though she did not attempt or did not intend to kill a 79-year-old woman, she pushed a button on a bridge that caused the bridge to lift, which resulted in a 79-year-old woman plummeting to her death. In this case, an individual got in a bulldozer, knowing that there was something obstructing his view, according to his statement, and he decided to drive this bulldozer forward, running over a porta-potty that was in a designated area with a man inside. And now that man is dead. So the family has retained the services of attorney Ben Crump, and Black Lives Matter and PMJ is confident in his ability to successfully litigate civilly and hold accountable civilly the Curdy Temp, which is the company that Mr. Henderson and the bulldozer operator work for. And we are confident in his ability to pursue all legal litigation civilly. But we are here to demand criminal charges. This is unacceptable that Mr. Haas has yet to formally charge the bulldozer operator. When the statute is crystal clear on the grounds for negligent homicide, this behavior is inexcusable of the bulldozer operator. His family is here. They're grieving. They're wanting answers. And as to date, no one has really called them to explain to them what happened. It's evident to us that the Curdy Temp Company has no intentions on doing the right thing by the family, which is why Mr. Crump was hired. And now the family is grieving. With me is his sister, Mrs. Melissa Harvey, and I'm going to allow her to speak about who her brother is, the man that he is, and the obligations that he took for his family.
He just don't know what he took from me. I can't do this. My brother was wonderful. He was a brother that anybody would want, and this just too much. And then we don't even know the name of the man who was driving the bulldozer. They not even told us none of that. And I don't understand why. And then how you don't go deem this an accident before you even did an investigation. I don't understand. This just too much for me.
How are you going to remember your brother? How will you remember him?
It was loving. I can't do it anymore.
Mr. Henderson's brother, Leonard, is here as well. And I wanted to give him an opportunity to also speak on behalf of his brother. Because as you can see, he's in tears behind me, and is also hurting that his blood brother was taken violently. Even though it wasn't intentional, that is no way for a man to die, to be crushed while at work. And Leonard Henderson is here, and he's going to speak on behalf of his brother.
Can you spell your first and last name, please?
LeonardHenderson. My thing is, it's just like you said, from the first day they said it was an accident without investigation or anything. So, you know what I'm saying? And then they haven't came forward and said nothing about it. It's been like almost a month now. So it's like, it's just what y'all say, you know what I'm saying? But I think it's more to it than that. But at the end of the day, like you said, man, we just want the truth. We want to know what the truth is, and that's it.
Was he your older or younger brother?
He was my younger brother.
How many siblings were there?
It's 5 of us, 3 boys and 2 girls. He was the youngest one. My mom is heartbroken. She in the hospital. She can't really, it's killing her. She was already sick. So this situation right here just like, just made it worse when they ain't even trying to, like, say what really happened, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, what really happened. If it was an accident, cool, but what really happened? Tell us that. They ain't told us nothing. And how long does it take to investigate something that happens like this? You know, like, give us an answer. Tell us something. That's all we're asking for is answers.
Is there any video of what happened which might explain better?
I don't think it's a video. They didn't show a video or anything. You know what I'm saying? They haven't showed anything. But I know it's guys that work out there that made videos after the incident happened. So it's other people that's involved that they're not saying anything about it. So we just want to know what's going on with it. You know what I'm saying? Because we're hearing other stories. Like Aaron and the guy really got into it, and this happened after work was over. Work was over at 5 o'clock. This happened at after 5 o'clock when everybody left. So we want to know really what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you go out there, you can look and see it's wide open. There was no reason for this bulldozer to run over a Porta-Potty. I'm talking about anybody can see it's open. So we just want answers, really. That's all we want is, you know, somebody to be held accountable for what happened.
For people who didn't know Aaron, how do you want us to remember him when they get to know him?
Aaron was a loving, kind person. He wanted to do better. He started, you know what I'm saying, working for this company. He really liked it, you know, and unfortunately it's happened, but he was just trying to better his life and be a better person. And, you know, this happened. But at the end of the day, we just want the truth about what happened, you know. Aaron was a loving guy, good guy. He wasn't a bad guy at all. He was a good guy. So we just want the truth.
Did he have any children, Aaron?
Yes, he has 2 sons.
Any daughters?
No, he not even doing
Nas, I want to ask you really quickly, and I'm not sure the latest you all heard from investigators or the sheriff or the sheriff's office. I know Grady Judd spoke to some media members today saying that they have continued their investigation, and this was today. They continued their they've investigated, and to this moment they have found nothing criminal, intentional behind what happened. He calls it, of course, a tragedy. This is the sheriff. He calls it a tragedy. He says at this moment they have found nothing criminal or intentional behind what happened earlier.
Well, an individual cannot operate a bulldozer, run over someone, and claim that they did it because they couldn't properly see. Would any of you get in a vehicle and drive it forward and then run somebody over and then make the excuse that I couldn't see, something was obstructing my view? I'm sorry, I killed someone. I mean, that is not an excuse to give. Unfortunately, even though this may have been an accident, oversight does not excuse negligence. The law is crystal clear. The sheriff's office has an obligation to uphold the laws of this state. And unfortunately, when one commits negligence, an act that could have been prevented, an act that killed someone, been avoided, unfortunately, the law does allow that person to be charged. And if Sheriff Judd is not going to do his charge this individual, then the state attorney of the 10th Judicial Circuit, Brian Haas, needs to do so. In Palm Beach County, unfortunately, even though Mrs. Polk, I believe her name was very remorseful, unfortunately, she made mistakes that led to the death of a 79-year-old white woman. Did she go to work that day with the intention of lifting a bridge with a 79-year-old woman riding a bike on there? No, she didn't. Did she want this to happen? No. But unfortunately, she made a horrible mistake by pushing that button without following protocols. That bridge raised with a woman on top of it, and a woman and a 79-year-old innocent grandmother plummeted over 70 feet to her death. The Palm Beach County State Attorney found it fit to uphold the law under the same statute, 782.07, and charge Mrs. Polk. Now, again, there are some differences in the case, because we also learned that Mrs. Polk also was not truthful with investigators as to the steps that she took, but again, to what she did wrong. And even though it was accidental, she lied about not following protocol. A operator is saying that a portion of his equipment obstructed his view. He couldn't see in wide field. He couldn't see and he runs over a porta-potty that was in a designated area. Now, if this porta-potty was maybe at the last minute put in the different location and maybe no one was aware of it, we might be able to talk about maybe excusable oversight. But we do know for a fact that this porta-potty was in a designated area. Anyone operating any type of moving machine, whether it's a car, a bulldozer, a forklift, has an obligation, not just by OSHA guidelines when you're on a construction, obligation for awareness of others to know your surroundings. There is no way that he will be able to sit up here and continue that he couldn't see. A piece of his own equipment of the bulldozer obstructed his view. Moved the bulldozer if he couldn't see.
Simple.
He should have had a spotter.
Some signal difficulties from Polk County, folks. Stay with us. Hey folks, JB here with you live on WFLA Now. Looks like we have now completely lost our signal from the Polk County Courthouse. You hear there, they are seeking a negligent homicide charge against the operator of the bulldozer. Hearing there from the Black Lives Matter representative who was just speaking there. And you also heard from some of the family members of 40-year-old Aaron Henderson, who again was killed in this tragic incident in Polk County earlier this month. Interesting of note as well that they are comparing it to the bridge, to the death of a 79-year-old woman in Palm Beach County, a bridge operator that raised a bridge as a woman was crossing that bridge with her bicycle. You might remember that story. We covered it quite a bit on WFLA Now. We had multiple press conferences and multiple streams about that story as well. The representative that you just heard from there arguing and saying if you can charge the bridge tender in that case with negligent homicide, then Polk County officials need to also hold this bulldozer operator to the same standard. Now, whether or not those two cases are comparable when it comes to the situation and the circumstances surrounding each individual death, that's up for, of course, law enforcement officials and the district attorney's office. But it really comes down to, again, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, who was speaking at length earlier, saying that he did not think that there was criminal intent and he did not think there was grounds for any criminal charges here in his jurisdiction, Polk County, Florida. We have the latest for you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We'll be back in a little bit on WFLA Now. Thanks for watching.